Hi, welcome back to the Minecraft Coding Camp tutorial videos. And in this video, we're going to be going over the next project in the Minecraft game. I may have forgotten the previous video. This is where we left off, right after doing this task in Project 1. In case you didn't figure it out, to return back, you have to return to beginning place and just right-click it, the button there, and right-click this button, and you should be back right at your home screen. And as I said before, remember that this screen over here is where everything is based, and for the whole game of Minecraft, every time you finish a project, you're always going to be coming back here. This is like your home base where everything's located. So we just completed project 1, which was on mining. Hopefully, the last video helped you get through it, and it wasn't too bad. As we progress in the videos, each project actually gets harder. So make sure you're writing down your code as we go, keeping track of what new concepts we're learning, so everything is clear. So let's go into project 2, which is called trees. So it says, welcome to lumber camp, and here we'll use turtles to cut down trees. So that sounds like fun. We're going further than just simple mining. We're actually doing more useful tasks now. So that's fun. It says, let's start with a simple program called logging. Okay, so before we run the program, remember how we run programs? We just type in logging. That's how you normally run it. But before we look into the program, let's actually see what the program does instead of just running it. So remember, you type edit, the name of your program, to open up the menu. And here we have the program already written out for us. So this is no surprise, turtle.refuel. It should be at the beginning of every program as a reminder to make sure that the turtle can actually do things. And then it says turtle.dig, which means it's going to break the block in front of us. And then the turtle is going to move forward. Okay, so if you think about it, the turtle is currently positioned right in front of the tree. So if we break the first block over here with turtle.dig and then do turtle.forward, we'll be cutting this block and then be directly under the tree where the block used to be. So let's look at the rest of the code now. Now we're doing something called setting variables. It says height equals 5 and current mode equals 1. This is concepts 1 and 2 from 3A on your concept sheet. And this basically goes over how we use variables in programming. So variables can be very useful in programming because we don't want to always just deal with numbers. And sometimes we want to use a value, use some sort of quantity that makes sense to us to hold the numbers and things we use. So in this case, we're using height and current wood to do our things, because just dealing with 5 and 1 can sometimes be very confusing. And also, just dealing with numbers alone can sometimes severely limit the number of things we can do with our code, because when we use variables, we're actually having a permanent storage location for every single number we want. So we can always call that number, we can always use it without explicitly typing what the number is. We know that the height is 5, so instead of typing 5, which may not make as much sense to us, we type height, because height is something that that's useful to program in the problem we're solving. So these are just some ways that variables can be useful, and there's lots more. Like we'll be looking later, or maybe in this lesson, incrementing stuff like that, because sometimes variables can help us find unknown quantities where we might not actually know what the number is. And using variables that already have set numbers in them, we can calculate new numbers. So if what I just said wasn't really clear, hopefully it'll be more clear to you as we get into the program. And the next thing we have here, it says while current wood is less than height. So the first thing you notice there is the word while. this is something new we learned, and it says it's a loop. This is actually concept 3B, number 2 on your curriculum sheet, which is on while loops. So what while loops do is you put an expression into the parentheses, and as long as that expression is true, the loop repeatedly goes on. So what we see in here is the two variables we declared earlier, current wood and height. So remember, current wood and height both represent numbers. So that means as long as the value stored in current wood is less than the value stored in height, this loop will repeatedly go. And right now we know the loop will go because we set current wood equal to 1, and we set height equal to 5, and clearly 1 is less than 5. So this is the syntax for a while loop. So we have while, the expression we're testing in the parentheses, and then we do this, which is followed by the block, which is all the stuff that's going to happen in the loop. And remember, always close loops with the word end, so we know the loop has ended, and if needed, we restart or move on to the next block of code. So now let's look into what this code is doing. So in the while loop, we see turtle.digUp and turtle.up. So turtle.digUp, it should be a new concept, a new programming function that we haven't encountered earlier. So you should make sure you write that down somewhere to know what it does. And essentially, we've seen what turtle.dig does. Turtle.dig breaks the block in front of you, and turtle.dig will break the block directly above you. And we can see why this would make sense. Because remember, when the turtle breaks this first wood here, and then gets underneath, the rest of the wood is on top. So that means the turtle has to be digging upwards to break the rest of the tree. So obviously, turtle.digUp would work. And then we do turtle.up, so the turtle is in position to break the next block of wood, because we can't break wood when we're 2 blocks away from it. Think about this. If the turtle moves here, breaks this wood, the next wood is 2 blocks up. So the turtle won't be able to reach it, which is why I have to do turtle.up and move it up. So that's what that does. And then current wood equals current wood plus 1. So what's happening here is we're increasing the current wood we're on. So going back to our variables here, we said height equals 5. How do we know this? We just counted the number of blocks of wood up here. And that gave us the height of 5. And then we said current wood equals 1 because that was the wood we were currently working on breaking. So when we increment is also concepts 3A, numbers 3 to 5 on your concept sheet, which is on reassigning variables and incrementing and doing operations. Incrementing is a kind of operation. So what this incrementing here is doing is actually it's signifying that we're moving to the next position wood. So when I increase the wood by 1, I'm basically saying I've finished with this wood here, now I'm on the next wood. I'm finished with this wood here, and then I'm on the next wood. And why is it important? Because in our while loop here, we said this loop only goes on until as long as current wood is less than height. So if the current wood has incremented to a point where it's equal to the height, this loop will stop because we finished breaking the whole tree. And that's the way we know that this loop has to end. And that's the way you want to use a while loop, because if you think about it, if we don't do incrementing and decrementing stuff like this, well, while this whole thing here, while this expression right here is always true, this while loop will keep going on forever. So if you want to avoid that loop going on forever, we need to have this incrementing here so we know exactly when to stop it. And in this case, we're stopping exactly when the turtle is positioned on the correct wood. So now let's move on to the ending of the code. This is just turtle.down. Repeat set the turtle.down and then turtle.back. We're just having the turtle move back down since it was flying up there to cut the wood and moving back to its original position. So that's the end of this code, and let's see how this code runs. So let's type logging. You see the turtle has broken the wood, broken the whole tree, all the wood in the tree, and moved back to the position. So let's move on to the next stuff. So this says, what if you don't know the height of the tree? In this case, I already knew what the height of the tree was. I just knew it was out here. I already knew it was 5, which is why I can use that variable. But it's not really practical to always know the height of every tree you're cutting, right? So now let's explore what would happen if you don't actually know the height of the tree. You need some way to know if the wood above you was still there. Now think about this like the place program we did in Project 1, where we're placing the blocks across the lava. Although we might physically see where the lava is, our program was designed to detect where the where there's no block. So similarly, we're going to do something like that, where we want to try to detect detect whether there is wood above us, which essentially lets the turtle measure the height of the tree on its own. So let's look at this logging program. And we see turtle.select1, just like before. We see the height, but this time we see height equals 1. So we just initialize to a standard value and we don't actually know what height is. And current wood equals 1. And this time, instead of doing a height is less than current wood scenario, we did a function called turtle.detectUp. This is basically going to let the turtle detect whether there's a block up. And since it's in the while loop, as long as the turtle.detectUp returns true, this while loop will continue to go. So that basically lets the turtle detect itself whether there's something still to cut above. And then we see turtle.dig up, turtle.up. That's just the breaking function. And then we see height equals height plus 1. Now what that's actually doing is, every single time the turtle moves up and breaks a block, we're incrementing the height, because we want to essentially measure the height. So when this loop finishes, turtle.detectUp will be returning false, and then the height will stop incrementing, and then we have the height of the tree. Now why is this useful? This is simply to get the turtle to climb back down. So this time we can't just do a bunch of turtle downs repeatedly, because we don't know exactly how many times we have to do that. So what we're actually doing is we're assuming that the current wood is this time the top spot where we broke a wood, and as long as current wood is less than height, we're going to keep going down. So this time we're using current wood to count the number of times we need to increment to move down the tree. So let's just assume the height is like 6 or here, okay? When turtle reaches breaks the last wood, height will equal 6, and then turtle will start moving down, and at the same time current wood increments by 1. When current wood is equal to the height, turtle should be at the bottom here, and then we can turtle up back, which is exactly what we're doing here. So let's run this program and see how it works. So logging. And we see that the turtle breaks all the wood, then is coming back down by itself. So the program has worked. Now we want the turtle to replant the tree too. Okay, so we just want to replace that wood, all that wood we lost there, or just the plant itself, since we practically killed it. So let's edit logging. And we see the same sort of code here, just as the previous turtle. We're breaking the whole tree. We climb back down, and then it says turtle.select2. What that does is select this spot right here, spruce sapling, which is in the second inventory spot of the turtle, and then turtle.place, just like before. Remember, place down, but this time turtle.place will place the block in front instead of below. So what it's going to do is, once it selects the sapling, it places the sapling right here where the tree broke. So that essentially replants the tree. Let's just see how this works now. And we see the turtle's breaking the tree, just like the previous program. It's moving back down, and it planted our tree. So our turtle did its job with breaking the wood and then planting the tree.